بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا حبيبنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, apologies for not being around for the last 3 months, I've not been able to come to Good Street Masjid for the last 3 months, primarily because I've been very busy. But I've been around, alhamdulillah. And in those last 3 months of being absent from this Good Street Masjid, a lot has happened around the world. And in those days when you and I feel that there is a need for a robust response, there is a need for somebody to stand up and explain Islam to the world, challenge Boris Johnson and all the other Islamophobes in our country, Allah makes opportunities available for us to do that. So Boris Johnson, when he attacked our sister's choice to wear niqab recently, we all found Muslims, non-Muslims, and people of all background, faith and no faith, they were prepared to lend a hand in support of the Muslim lady's choice. If a lady wants to choose to cover her face, that's her choice. Whether you agree with it or not agree with it, that's a different discussion. Most of you know my view about niqab, but I'll stand up for the right of my sisters to make that choice. Nobody has the right to take that away from them. And Boris Johnson was totally wrong in attacking our sisters, calling them letterboxes and bank robbers, or at least said they look like. Apparently he was joking. He's not a stand-up comedian. I didn't know that was his new profession. He's a politician, former foreign secretary of our country, mayor of London, or former mayor of London, most diverse city in the world, in which at least 10% of the population of London are Muslims. Either he was ignorant or he was deliberate. Some people say he was doing it because it's freedom of speech. It has nothing to do with freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is just a smoke screen created by some Islamophobes for them to rant and rage against Muslims with no reason, no rationale, any excuse. So today's khutbah, my brothers and sisters, are for Muslims and non-Muslims, but I want to ask you to consider the 10 key messages of Islam that we should be sharing with everybody. So if after today you feel this message was good enough, send it to Boris Johnson. If you feel it was good enough, send it to people who hate Islam perhaps. Let them consider their position in the light of what they're hearing, reading, rather than just hearsay and internet rubbish that you see often regurgitated by one to the other. The 10 key messages of Islam is very important for me to articulate what I believe Islam is. And I want you also to be absolutely crystal clear about what Islam is and what it stands for. Islam offers a very powerful philosophy of life, an ideology and a complete code of life, which includes every aspect, from politics to society, from economics to family, from law and order to our private matters or public interests. Islam covers every aspect of life. If somebody says Islam doesn't cover every aspect of life, you know they're talking nonsense. Because Allah says in the Quran that Allah has revealed اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. Today we've completed our revelation, our favors upon you. Today we've completed our deen upon you. There is nothing left which needs to come to complete this philosophy of life. So Islam is a complete code of life. It covers politics and it covers economics. It covers my private life and it covers my public life. It covers society, it covers law and order, it covers morality and ethics, it covers everything. Some Muslims who are going out of their way to suggest that Islam is only a private religion, only for people to pray and mind their own business, they're also talking nonsense. Islam is a religion of individuals, but can't be practiced unless you're communal. Just like Jum'ah today, how will you pray Jum'ah if you don't come together? How will you do Eid if you don't come together? How will you do many aspects of Islam? Islam, without a society, without a collective effort, without it being public, is not Islam. So don't be an apologist for those who try and are trying to dilute Islam. Islam is what Islam is. It's universal. These values transcend nationality, where you are, which country you live, which government you respond to, and which politician is paying your, or who is your paymaster. It makes no difference. Islamic philosophy is the same. It's an ideology, a complete one, covers every aspect. This philosophy gives a balanced guideline that incorporates spiritual and material, worldly and the hereafter realms. It's not just the worldly-centric lifestyle, but it is about the hereafter too. It's not just about spirituality, but it's about material too. The Prophet of Allah ﷺ's dua is very beautiful in this regard. He used to make this dua, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنًا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنًا وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. If my Prophet of Allah, my beloved Prophet, our beloved Prophet, was only interested in the akhirah, he would have said, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الْآخِرَةِ. That's all he would have said. He didn't say that. He said, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيا حَسَنًا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنًا وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Ya Allah, give me success of this dunya and success of the hereafter. For a believer, if he or she is successful in this dunya, they will also be successful in the hereafter. If they are successful in the dunya at the expense of the akhirah, they are not successful, they're a failure. So our philosophy is about this world and the hereafter. It's about spirituality and material. It's about living a comprehensive life, a balanced life. No ambiguity in our philosophy. So principle number one in this lifestyle. The first principle of this lifestyle, my brothers and sisters, is total freedom from everyone and everything. You and I are totally free from everything in this world. The declaration of faith, La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Let me repeat that again, for those who do not understand. La ilaha illallah, the first part of the declaration. It simply means that you are from today accepting none worthy of worship. From today, you are accepting none worthy of worship. This is an absolute statement of faith. You reject all forms of power or deities worthy of your total surrender and submission. You bow your head to nobody. You are totally free, born free, designed to be free, destined to be free, not to bow down or submit to anybody, any power, any deity. You are free. La ilaha illallah offers that freedom. Message to Boris Johnson and his friends. If you truly want freedom, away from your material pursuit, away from your ego, away from your powers and position, away from the lure of this dunya, this world, say La ilaha illallah, you will feel totally free. This is a powerful thing to say to all the politicians, all the powerful people of this world, the media pundits, the presenters, the commentators, the right and the left wing, all of you. If you truly want to experience freedom, then abandon the desire and the lure of this world. Abandon the attachment that you have for power and material possession. You will be truly free. And La ilaha illallah, my brothers and sisters, offers that freedom, a total freedom. The implication of La ilaha illallah is huge. You're not willing to accept slavery to anyone or for any systems. This absolute statement places a foundation of equality of all humanity. Anyone who says La ilaha illallah is free. I'm not tied to my money. I'm not tied to my position. I'm not tied to my MP. I'm not tied to any throne. I'm not tied to anybody, because I'm free. Born free. Designed to be free. Destined to be free. Implication is huge. Why should I submit to any absolutes created by my fellow human beings? Who are you to tell me what is absolute and what is not absolute? When you look like me, when you behave like me, when you are a human being like me, I have the same stake as you are. Second part of this declaration, my brothers and sisters, is an automatic transition from rejection of all power and deity to acceptance of one and the only, illallah. I accept one who is the creator, the fashioner, the designer, the one who is the controller, who is Rabbul Alameen, who is Rabbul Alameen. He is actively involved in my affairs, in my well-being, in my breathing, in my life, in my death. For a believer, I say, قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Say, my prayer, my sacrifice, my life and my death, all are for Allah, the Lord of the universe. The Lord of the universe is the only power and worthy of worship I accept. The only power worthy of worship I accept. The only power worthy of my total surrender and total submission. My brothers and sisters, the second part of the declaration of faith is about totally submitting to, wholeheartedly, knowingly, willingly accepting Allah as one and the only, absolute, eternal, fashioner, designer, controller of all things in this universe and beyond. That to me is true freedom. I am not your slave. You're not my slave. I am not slave to a nation state. I am not slave to a national anthem or a flag. I am not slave to a tribe or a language. I am not slave to a culture or ethnicity. I am human, and I am universally human and belong to every race, every nationality, every people on this earth. I am free. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah is the first principle of this faith, of this ideology, of this philosophy. Mr. Boris Johnson, don't be afraid. Mr. Donald Trump, don't be afraid. It is a great philosophy for you too. You should embrace it. You should taste it. Try it. You will see how free you feel. You will feel free that you don't have to put all your eggs in one basket called the basket of this world. When it collapses, everything collapses. We don't do that. We have two baskets. We invest in this world for the return of the hereafter, because we believe in submitting to Allah, the one and the only. You submit to the morals and ethical absolutes given by Allah as best boundaries for humanity's longevity, for humanity's safe and harmonious coexistence and prosperity. Human beings cannot exist, cannot continue, if they don't realize their roots and their origin. My brothers and sisters, Muslims are empowered by this proposed Islamic lifestyle, based on the profound belief and faith in one Allah, one God, submission to God's superior wisdom, and as a consequence, acceptance of God's proposed principles for human life. Such a belief gives clarity, purpose, and goal to my life. It makes me a very confident Muslim. It makes me a very confident human being. It makes me a human being who is in control of himself or herself. Principle number 2. Islam offers society some absolute morals and ethical parameters that should not be violated. It makes human conscience the most important judge of what is right and what is wrong. It suggests that human beings who have not been corrupted by their surroundings, that they, if they were left alone, would naturally be Muslim, because Islam and its morals and ethics are totally in harmony to normal human natural disposition. When you're corrupted by the society, when you're corrupted by influences, that's when you don't see Islam. That's when you are swayed by other ideas and other destinations or goals. For example, Islam prohibits, my brothers and sisters, gambling, as it deems it absolutely exploitative and destructive. It considers hard work as the best means to prosperity and happiness, not daydreams about becoming a millionaire while sitting on your backside at the expense of millions of other people who could be gambling their family's food money, their children's clothes money, family's life saving, and certainly hard-earned cash. Gambling is prohibited for a reason. Our society is suffering from the gambling addiction that we see. Every time there is poverty, in any inner city areas where there are deprivation, you see more gambling shops opening up. Because poor people who are dreaming and chasing a bit of the cake that the rich and the famous often display on the TV screens and magazines, they see no way out except gambling their money. How many people gamble their lives, fortune, and then end up on the streets? That's why gambling is wrong. That is why the parameter of Islam in its moral and ethical parameter is absolute. No matter what happens, under no circumstances are you allowed to gamble. Brothers and sisters, Islam prohibits alcohol for a reason. Alcohol dependency, alcohol addiction, alcohol-related illnesses, and the burden on the NHS from the alcohol-related treatments is staggering. It's staggering. There is a reason why Allah makes alcohol, Islam makes alcohol prohibited. Allah says there is some good in it and there is some bad in it, but bad outweighs the good. So therefore leave alcohol is not good for you. And we have learned from science today that from our brain to our toes, from every cell in our body to even our hair follicles, everything is adversely affected by alcohol consumption. Alcohol is not good for you under any circumstances. They say you should responsibly drink. This is an oxymoron. After you have drunk, how can you be responsible? Your brain is no longer functioning fully. You have been intoxicated. The very definition of intoxication is when you are unable to judge between right and wrong. If you can't drive under the influence of alcohol, even if it's one drop, why is it okay? Why is it a good mantra to say, go and drink responsibly? Responsible drinking is the biggest delusion offered by the alcohol industry to the masses to keep them intoxicated. My brothers and sisters, and people who are listening to this program, our khutbah today, those who listen to it, I'll tell you this very categorically. Muslims and non-Muslims, alcohol is bad for you. Islam proposes ban on alcohol. What are you afraid of? You don't like Islam because it bans alcohol? It bans good for the society? You've got a problem because Islam proposes people who will no longer be intoxicated? Well, if you have problems with Islam because of that, there is very little I can do. Use your rationale. Give me one reason why you don't like Islam. My brothers and sisters, Islam prohibits eating pig meat, harmful for you, closest to human DNA, one of the filthiest animals that can go on. Islam prohibits illicit relationship outside marriages. I don't have to tell you why. Family is destroyed. Society is destroyed. Children are left on the streets to fend for themselves. Children are brought up in broken homes because society are unable to control their base desires. They're behaving like animals. Islam places a great importance in its ethical parameters and moral parameters that you and I will abide by them. Mr. Boris Johnson, Mr. Donald Trump, tell me, what is wrong with Islam so far? What have I said that you dislike about? If I didn't use Islam and I was giving a secular lecture without quoting the Quran and word using science and technology, you would be saluting me for saying the good things. The moment I mention Islam, it seems like you get an allergic reaction. That, to me, my friends, is irrational fear. If you're truly irrational, be intellectual about it. Pick up the book and read. Come and challenge me in what I have said. In all that I have said about Islam, what have I said that is not good for the society? Principle number 3. Islam proposes equitable distribution of wealth. What's wrong with that? 1% of the world's population own more than 80% or 90% of the world's wealth. How is that fair? 90% of the population of this earth, 90% of the population of this earth are sharing small percentage of the world's wealth, while remaining wealth is being taken by 1% of the population of this earth. Why is that fair? Why is that acceptable? Answer me, somebody not here. I know you know the answer. Anybody in this world. Fairer distribution of wealth is what Islam is proposing. If the rich feel threatened, well, of course you will be threatened. Every party is talking about taxing the rich. Every party is talking about taxing the filthy rich, the very rich and the wealthy, the top 1% of our society. Well, it is true that if you tax top 1% of our society, you'd have taxed more than 70% of our world's wealth. Brothers and sisters, Islam proposes equitable distribution of wealth. You're supposed to give your zakat away. 2.5% of your wealth surplus must go to the poor and the needy. Of course, that's a good solution. What part of equitable distribution of wealth do you have a problem with? What part of Islam's proposition do you have a problem with? Number 4, Islam creates a non-hierarchical human relationship. You and I are all equal, whether you're black or white, whether you're rich or poor, whether you're Arab or Asian, whether you're European, blue-eyed blonde, or you're black African, you're the same. You're the same, you're a human being. Your skin may be different, but cut, you'll see the same blood pouring out. When you die, you're buried in the same way. When your body rots, it smells the same. In fact, when you're alive and you haven't had a shower for a few days, you smell the same. And brothers and sisters, what part of equality that Islam proposes you have a problem with? Either you believe in inequality or you believe in equality. And if you believe in equality, why do you have a problem with Islam? Islam proposes that human fraternity from one end of this globe to the other end of this globe are all born with equality, with honor and dignity, and must be treated as such. It's not that you're American and you get better treatment. It's not that you're European, you get better treatment. You're Arab, you get better treatment. And in the pecking order, if you're African, if you're Asian, if you're black, you're the worst of people. No! Under no circumstances should we tolerate such nonsense. Islam says you're all the same. Islam says all the same. Mr. Boris Johnson and Donald Trump, don't forget, you have a very troubled history with slavery. Your forefathers were at the forefront of enslaving black people in their millions and killing them and overthrowing them because there were excess baggage on your ships, slave-laden ships of disgrace. Don't forget your history. Islam never supports and never supported such barbarity and brutality on human beings. Number 5, Islam strictly guards non-sexualized relationship between man and woman. This is a problem for many. What's wrong with non-sexualized space for man and woman? You want to treat ladies as object of sexual desire and your dreams? No, ladies are human beings too. Treat them with honor and dignity. Islam proposes a formula. Islam says, dress modestly, man and woman. Islam says, lower your gaze, not stare at every flesh that passes you by like a pack of hyenas wanting to jump at every opportunity. Don't become like an animal, become like a human being. Control your eyes, control your desire, dress modestly. Boris Johnson has a problem with that. Donald Trump has a problem with that. They want all of us to dress immodestly. They want all of us to have illicit relationships. They want all of us to be lewd and crude to every person passing by. If I am wrong, then what's the problem with Islam? What's the problem with Islam? Please tell me. If Islam says, cover up, man and woman, lower your gaze and not sexualize your interaction, what is the problem with this idea? Please tell me, what is the problem with this idea? Brothers and sisters, Islam proposes a non-sexualized, neutral space for man and woman to interact using their brain, their skills. Their brain, their skills, not their body or their body parts. Because that is objectification of man and woman. Number 6, Islam places fairness and justice for all people and the core of its philosophy. It is the main objective of Islamic law. In fact, justice is an obligation upon every Muslim. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. Allah makes an obligation. If you're a believer, you must be just. If you are a believer and you're unjust, there is a problem. A believer by definition is just. Please tell me somebody, what's the problem with Islam's proposition of fairness and justice? Give me one example of why Islam is not fair or just. One, I will be happy to hear. Islam is fair and just. I agree Muslims have become unfair and unjust. I agree Muslim countries up and down this globe have been treating people unfairly and unjustly. Don't blame Islam for the rotten behavior of Muslims. Put Muslims by the yardsticks of Islam. Islam says every Muslim must be fair and just. Sixth principle of Islam. Brothers and sisters, I've outlined 6 principles so far. I'll give the rest of the 4, inshallah, in the next part. But my question still remains. I am very proud of my faith. I know my religion makes absolute sense. I know my religion is a good news for the world at large. I just want to know from the Islamophobes, from those who hate Islam, and those who have confusion about Islam, what philosophy do you propose for humanity's salvation, well-being, harmony, and coexistence? Give me one philosophy that will make sense. Please, one philosophy that will unite the humanity and bring better moral and ethical code for everybody. Give me one. I challenge you. You can't give me one. And yet you've got a problem with Islam? Come on. Study it for God's sake. Study it. Explore it. Try it. Taste it. I can tell you with my hand on my heart, you will love it. You will love it. And you will want others to do the same. May Allah strengthen us. Enable us to understand our faith and share the goodness of our faith with the world around. Wa akhir ad-da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Number 7, my brothers and sisters, Islam makes continuous intellectual enterprising for innovation and excellence its cornerstone. This is ihsan. Be better at everything, be best at everything. Do your best to become even better. Ihsan is embellishment, is the beautification of everything that we do. Allah says that in the Quran. I read the verse earlier on. Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. Allah wants you to be just and also excellent. In other words, whatever you do, make it beautiful. Make it excellent. Do better. Improve yourself. In technology, in mathematics, in philosophy, in astronomy, in religion, in qira'at, in translation, in recitation of the Quran, in fasting, in worshipping, in hajj, in everything that we do. We're supposed to do it in the best way possible. In the best way possible. What's wrong with that? Why should some people have problems with excellence that Islam proposes? Number 8, Muslims are taught from the day they're born that they are the custodians of this earth. Allah says in the Quran, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. I'm going to send on this earth my representatives, my custodians of this earth, people who will inherit this earth. Khalifa means people who inherit the earth itself. Who will inherit the earth? Irresponsible people? No. Islam says you and I are responsible for this earth. Keep it well, look after it, look after its environment, have an eco-friendly existence, don't destroy it, don't exploit it. What Islam says. What's the problem with Islam then? What is it that you have a problem with? Why did Boris Johnson say a few years ago, in 2014, the problem is Islam? Why did Donald Trump say the same thing? Because they are ignorant about Islam. They don't know anything about Islam, and they just like to make headlines. I'm challenging you all, Muslims and non-Muslims. What is the problem with Islam's philosophy? That it makes each and every one of us responsible for this earth, custodians for this earth. Don't litter the streets, keep your streets clean, don't cut down the trees, don't kill the animals unnecessarily, don't exploit this earth, don't take out the natural minerals and resources exploitatively for greed and wanton exploitation and nothing else. Don't do that. What's wrong with that philosophy? What's wrong with it? It hurts those who want to make money. It hurts at the core of capitalism. It hurts at the core of greed. Well, I'm sorry to say, Islam will stand between humanity and greed. Islam will stand between normality and capitalism. Of course it will. If that's the problem, then I have no issue in standing firm with my faith and my philosophy and challenging you. For yours is a rotten philosophy that has destroyed this world, created more people who are poor. Every 20 seconds, a child dies because of hunger and thirst. Every 20 seconds, a child dies because of hunger and thirst. And we waste £40 billion worth of food in the UK alone every year. One is the consequence, these are the consequences of exploitative economic order called capitalism. Principle number 9, Islam places ethical, socio-political structure for governance. Political structure for Islam is based on not nepotism, not my father is the king, therefore my son will be the king. No, not my father is the prime minister, my daughter will become the prime minister. No. It's based on your credibility, on your credential, on your ability, not nepotism and cronyism or corruption. Yes, I know, we see this in the Muslim countries, I know we do. This is the destructive nature of ignorant Muslim masses who don't stand up to establish true Islam in their lives. Pakistan is recently tried, and we make dua that they succeed. They gave votes to Imran Khan away from the everyday corrupt politicians of the past. They are trying, maybe we don't know the outcome. We have no idea, but they want to see a change. Egyptians tried by voting for Morsi once. Look at what happened. Tunisians have tried. They're still struggling to keep it up. Turkish people are trying. Their economy is collapsing recently because of the pressure put by the rest of the world. Brothers and sisters, the reality is we want to live a life where governance is truly democratic, which is the choice of the people, truly governed by people, not by interest groups and those who can lobby and who have the biggest pockets and the deepest arms or army to exploit. My brothers and sisters, Islamic governance is all about true power to the people. Number 10, every Muslim must live a life of philanthropy, charitable and compassionate coexistence for all species. You give away for the sake of Allah. Allah says, give away. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Unless you give away what you love most, which is money, you have not actually truly attained Allah consciousness. You have not become from a Muslim. Give away, because we are philanthropic, because we are charitable, we are kind, we are socially conscious people. To finish off, my suggestion to you all is ask your non-Muslim friends and families or colleagues at work or other places, what is the problem with Islam? What is it? Give me one example of the problem that you have with Islam. Now my question to you all, why do some people hate Islam? Because they don't know much about Islam. Why do some people have sleepless nights over Islam? Because they are afraid of Islam. What are they afraid of? I tell you, they are not afraid of Islam, they are afraid of Muslims. The solution is, if we change as Muslims, and if we share the goodness of Islam with the world, people will not be afraid of Islam. They will start coming into Islam in large numbers. Brothers and sisters, this is my response to the current saga that is engulfing our community and our country. Islam is good news for all of us. Islam can solve many problems that we have. It's just that we Muslims need to catch up, and non-Muslims need to be given the true information. We need to share it with them. My invitation to you all, please read about Islam, learn about Islam, share the goodness of Islam. You will see it's an amazing way of life that will bring prosperity, happiness, peace and stability on this earth. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر يا أرحم الراحمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. Help us, Ya Allah. Forgive us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, unite our hearts, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, restore peace on this earth, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, return peace and stability on this earth, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, enable the people of this earth to understand Islam, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, make Islam apparent, Ya Allah. Make Islam understandable to people, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, make Muslims better people, Ya Allah. Make Muslims better people, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, unite us, Ya Allah. Relieve the troubles and the calamities that have befallen on the Ummah, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Akramul Akrameen. Accept the Hajj of all the Hujjaj who have gone to Hajj, Ya Allah. Accept the Hajj of all our brothers and sisters who have gone to Hajj, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, forgive us our sins, Ya Allah. Unite our hearts, Ya Allah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون والله يعلم ما تصنعون أقم الصلاة